Controversial opinion. Endeavor is one of my favorite characters of Boku No Hero Academia so far. Let me defend myself. Endeavor as a person is terrible. There's no two ways about it. He's a tyrannical father that abuses his wife and neglects his kids. And that kind of behavior should never be lauded or admired by anyone. Bad Endeavor. Bad. Bad. But Endeavor as a character? Actually pretty good. I particularly like him as a character because he's really well written and a lot of his themes, no not that one, resonate with me. That in combination with the baller season finale of season 4 got me and 150,000 other fans all aboard the Endeavor hype train. And because there's so much to take apart in regards to the big bad orange man, here's a quick outline about what we're going to be talking about in this video. We'll start by looking at Endeavor's evil past and how he's portrayed in season 1 and 2 to really get into the mind of the number 2 hero. Then we're gonna check out the subtle philosophical changes to his character when he's forced to step up after All Might resigns in season 3 episode 10. After that, we're gonna get into the real good stuff and discuss his iconic rebirth during his bomb-ass fight with Nomu in the season 4 finale. If you already know Endeavor's backstory really well, I'd still recommend watching the entire video because there's probably some stuff in here that I cover that you might have missed. And if not, feel free to tell me how unoriginal I am in the comments. So please smash that like button and subscribe so I can pay my bills, and let's get on with the video. NG Endeavor Todoroki is a man of little words and big action. True to his name, his most defining characteristic, aside from being a terrible dad, is his will to strive forward and conquer the obstacles in front of him through sheer effort. In the first couple seasons of My Hero Academia, Endeavor is shown to be a tenacious, highly conscientious, and blindly goal-driven person. As a result, he's really good at his job. Partially due to his natural talent, but also because he takes his job very, very seriously. I mean, just look at him. The guy's so obsessed with his career that he has his hero flames on 24/7, even when he's off the clock and just chilling at home. Endeavor's capacity to work 100-hour work weeks stems from his desperate fixation on becoming the top pro hero. This insane work ethic for the admirable cause of fighting evil may seem commendable at first, but isn't so much anymore when you realize that he's fully willing and able to hurt other people in pursuit of his goals. He also doesn't value life as much as some of the other pro heroes do, and does resort to outright melting heads from time to time to get the job done. His sheer ruthlessness coupled with his ungodly ethic and his natural talent caused Endeavor to quickly shoot up the ranks and become the number 2 proest hero in all of Japan, at the ripe young age of 20. Which is pretty insane if you think about it. That's like the equivalent of becoming as big as Rihanna just 2 years after graduating from music school. But it doesn't stop there. Endeavor kept gunning for that number 1 spot, but quickly realized that he'd never be able to topple the unfazable powerhouse that is All Might. At this point, he does what any reasonable person would do, and uses his money and power from being the number 2 hero to buy out the family of a girl who has ice powers in an attempt to create a wonder child powerful enough to eventually unseat the long-standing number 1 hero in his place. And though his plan was kinda bonkers, and was ultimately really unhealthy for everyone involved, Endeavor did actually lead a pretty normal family life in the early years of his marriage. That is, until Shoto was born. After having his 3rd child finally inherit the perfect combination of quirks he had always dreamed of, he began to neglect and sometimes abuse the rest of his family, choosing to focus on channeling all his extra energy into hardcore training his All Might slaying protege day in and day out, regularly to the point of exhaustion. All this to close the gap between the number 2 and number 1 hero. After All Might resigned and Endeavor finally became top dog, he got angry. Angry that he didn't legitimately win the title by beating out the champ, and was simply given the cast-off crown as an afterthought as a result of All Might's resignation. He wanted to prove to himself and everyone else that he had what it took to be the best. And how would he do that now, when the best in the biz just decided to pack up and leave? Aside from his anger, Endeavor also likely experienced an existential crisis following his promotion. You see, this man dedicated his life to becoming the number 1 hero. That was his entire identity up to this point. He sacrificed everything else, including his family and friends, in favor of striving feverishly towards this singular goal. So, when Endeavor finally snatched the title of number 1, all he was left with when the smoke cleared and reality finally sunk in was the unanswered question of, what now? After Endeavor cooled off from his initial outburst, he saw reality for what it really was, now with the symbol of peace gone. And it wasn't pretty. Everyone, including the pro-heroes, got way too comfortable and complacent in letting All Might be the standalone last line of defense against the forces of evil, while they just stood around and watched from a distance. Everyone, that is, except himself. He was the only one who was actually trying to surpass All Might over the last 25 years, and therefore is the only person now who even stands a chance at replacing him as the new symbol. Faced with this realization, we see something change in Endeavor. Before, with All Might firmly in the driver's seat, Endeavor was free to blindly pursue his egotistical goal of becoming the number 1 hero purely for his own selfish reasons. But now that he's inherited the throne, his previously narrowed field of view is unwittingly blown wide open, as he's now forced to bear the crushing weight of becoming the new symbol of peace for the citizens of Japan. Here, Endeavor finds the answer to his existential angst, and it is from this point where we start to see a shift in Endeavor's ambition as well. From becoming the number 1 hero by brute force and merit alone, to becoming a hero also worthy of admiration and trust. Someone the public can feel comfortable relying on when shit hits the fan. The new symbol of peace. Alright, now that the stage is set, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this video. I'm talking, of course, about... In the season finale of Season 4, the author, Kohei Horikoshi, drops a 5-star 3-course meal of delicious character progression for the big man himself, and in it, makes the newly minted number 1 hero confront his past in his high-stakes battle with Nomu. What do I mean? In this episode, we learn that this bioengineered Nomu was created to fight. All it cares about is amassing strength and testing its might against the most powerful foes it can find. Sound familiar? Yes, that's not a coincidence, folks. This Nomu was written to be the exact personification of Endeavor's biggest flaws. In the same way the Nomu is hell-bent on seeking out Earth's mightiest heroes to test its strength against, Endeavor was equally obsessed with becoming the number 1 hero and toppling All Might, the most powerful character in the series. In this episode, it's clear that Endeavor sees a reflection of himself in Nomu, and calls out this similarity multiple times during the battle, even going so far as to condemn these actions as villain-like. By doing this, Endeavor is acknowledging his past mistakes, and is signaling to the audience that he can now see the error in his old ways. So, while we're watching Endeavor's awe-inspiring fight with Nomu on the surface, we're also witnessing Endeavor's heroic struggle against himself and his past on a deeper level. And though he eventually does win this fight, he doesn't win it freely. He takes a substantial amount of damage, and in fact, there's a brief moment in the fight where we, the audience, are led to believe that Endeavor had lost, that he had died. And well, in this exact moment, he did die. His past self, anyway. When he comes back after his brief venture into the afterlife, we see him forever changed, with a massive scar on his face not only to serve as a representation of this change, but also as atonement for his past misdeeds, which he'll likely have to carry around for the rest of his life. This metaphorical death represents Endeavor's transition from a cold, calculative hero who by this point would have most likely already given up and waited for backup, to the new symbol of peace for the people who can't afford to fail at any cost, even after losing all feeling in his limbs. Endeavor's final attack, where he borrows feathers from hawks and flies high into the stratosphere before unleashing a cataclysmic explosion, is also really reminiscent of a certain mythical bird that gets used a lot in classical literature to symbolize rebirth: the phoenix. Yep, Endeavor's a bird, confirmed. So, when Endeavor defeats Nomu, the embodiment of chaos threatening the world and his own evil past, after bursting into a ball of flames and rising from the ashes, what the author is trying to tell us is that Endeavor's own rebirth into the new symbol of peace is symbolically complete. But he's not the same symbol of peace that All Might once was. And that's made very clear. Instead of effortlessly saving people with a smile and gaining crowd favor through approval ratings, Endeavor, true to his name, saves the day not by smiling pretty for the camera, but by gritting his teeth, pushing forward, and always getting back up when he's inevitably knocked down. This is referenced very subtly when the smoke clears and we see Endeavor doing the symbol of peace pose, the same one All Might is famous for, but with one important yet indistinct difference. He's standing with his right fist raised. This is in contrast to All Might, who raises his left fist when he Detroit smashes evil villains into space to save the day. Between the two, Endeavor, who raises his dominant right hand in celebration of victory, is telling us that he had to put in the work for that W, whereas All Might, who raises his non-dominant left, is basically saying, GG easy, get good villains. Alright, so we've covered a whole lot in this video. We've talked about Endeavor's past, and how he was dead set on becoming the #1 hero, and how that caused him to be clinically diagnosed with tunnel vision. The exact same tunnel vision that threw him into an existential crisis when he finally achieved the top spot after All Might resigned. This led the once blind flame hero himself into a period of introspection, which culminated in Endeavor deciding to try and take up the mantle of the symbol of peace, which finally happened during his fight with the bioengineer Nomu, in which he was reborn. And just like that, boys, the philosophy of Endeavor. Please let me know in the comments if this made any sense at all. My head hurts from talking so much. Please like and sub so I can buy food. Love you guys, and see you next time.